The IDF has been forced to admit that they have been running a propaganda channel on Telegram aimed at Israeli citizens that featured snuff films of Palestinians being murdered, dehumanized as insects and vermin, their bodies desecrated, and the destruction of Gaza glorified. Here are the details. The channel, named 72 Virgins Uncensored, celebrated everything from a Palestinian being repeatedly run over to a mother grieving over her son, to the destruction of places of worship and reduction of Gaza City to rubble. The existence of the channel has been known for some time. It was created on October 9th. Haaretz was the first mainstream outlet to cover its existence in early December of last year. Now, in that first report, they were able to cite a senior military official who anonymously confirmed that the IDF was in fact directing the channel. At the time, however, the IDF denied those claims. Now, in a follow-up, the IDF has been forced to admit that their own propaganda unit was behind 72 Virgins the whole time. Here is Haaretz with that reporting, quote, "Reversing an earlier denial, Israeli military officials have admitted that the Telegram channel 72 Virgins Uncensored was operated by members of a department of the Israeli Defense Forces Operations Directorate. The admission comes after Haaretz published an expose on the channel last month, which led to an internal investigation into the matter. The probe, conducted by Major General Oded Basiak, head of the Operations Directorate, found that the information that led to the original denial that the channel was operated by or on behalf of the army was incorrect and relied on misinformation relayed by members of the influencing department. In the wake of these findings, the unit's wartime commander is to end his military service." So now the IDF claims that the influencing department was in fact running the channel, but they were just freelancing, doing so without authorization. You can make your own judgments about how accurate this new version of the story is. Haaretz also documented some of the genocidal language, gore, and war crimes that were celebrated on this channel. Quote, "An October 11th post read, 'Burning their mother, you won't believe the video we got. You can hear their bones crunch. We'll post it right away. Get ready.' Photos of Palestinian men captured by the IDF in the Strip and the bodies of what they describe as terrorists were captioned, 'Exterminating the roaches, exterminating the Hamas rats. Share this beauty.' A video of a soldier allegedly dipping machine gun bullets in pork fat is captioned, 'What a man. Greases bullets with lard. You won't get your virgins.' Another caption was, 'Garbage juice, another dead terrorist. You have to watch it with the sound. You'll die laughing.' Analyst Knox Bilal has been tracking the content on the channel as well. According to Bilal, on 72 Virgins, you could find this video of buildings in Gaza being demolished. Each time one is reduced to rubble, the twirling menorah on the screen gets another candle. The caption reads, 'Burn Gaza down.' You can also find some of the images that horrified the world but apparently delighted the Israeli audience of 72 Virgins. Men and young boys being detained and humiliated in Gaza. Here's what they apparently considered a hilarious post advertising a destroyed building as if it was luxury real estate. Gaza, 6 rooms, 360-degree view, spacious roof, street with lots of parking, exclusively for sale. For those interested, a pool can be added. LOL. Many commentators have been shocked by the willingness of IDF soldiers to publish TikToks advertising their war crimes and atrocities to the world. Incredibly, the shock was often at their willingness to publish these crimes rather than the commission of the crimes themselves. But here we have the propaganda unit of the IDF, itself running a snuff aggregation channel. It makes several things really quite clear. First, far from being ashamed of their war crimes, the IDF and the Israeli government want Jewish Israelis to know just how brutal they are actually being, how complete the destruction and annihilation and suffering. After all, remember that polls found only 1.8% of Israeli Jews thought the IDF were using too much firepower. Nearly 60% thought they were not using enough. And since the IDF can't actually accomplish any of their supposed military objectives, brutality is meant to substitute for success. After all, Hamas is not destroyed. The IDF has killed more of their own hostages than they have rescued. The tunnel system is largely intact and far from creating a shock in the population that would lead them to abandon their fight. The Israelis have only strengthened the logic of violent resistance among Palestinians. Domestically, Israel is suffering a tremendous economic blow and inching closer to outright global pariah status, having already been found to be plausibly committing genocide. Even the pathetic and genocide-abetting Biden administration, alongside the pathetic and genocide-abetting Sunak UK government, are considering unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. Hamas is likely strengthened, and the security of the Israeli people has only been further compromised. So gore, horror, and incitement to genocide are proffered as a way to cover for the abject systematic failure to accomplish any of the supposed goals of this operation. The IDF atrocity TikToks are not a bug, but a feature of this system, not just allowed, but encouraged. After all, this entire 72 Virgins channel was sustained and populated with multiple posts daily, including confidential operational details for months, by the very unit dedicated to putting out the version of the war and the messaging on the war that the official powers that be want to see propagated. I'm reminded of Haaretz' recent report from the ethnic cleansing conference just held in Israel, attended by more than a dozen government ministers. According to their journalists there on the ground, the most rapturous response was reserved for exactly this type of content. Quote, "The biggest response came for videos of soldiers in Gaza calling for the Strip to be resettled, shouting out that there are no innocents, or photographing themselves with banners for the Katif block, that is the former settlements in the Gaza Strip." So stop being puzzled by the mystery of IDF soldiers filming their atrocities. These same TikToks, which spark revulsion around the globe, are met with awe and admiration by the domestic population on whom Netanyahu and co depend on for their grip on power. The soldiers committing those crimes, they're celebrated as heroes. Now, it is cold comfort for the Palestinians who are being subjected to torture, starvation, mass killings, and complete annihilation of their civil society. But every one of these incidents makes it that much more difficult for the Israeli government to wriggle their way out of those ICJ genocide charges. How can you argue that Bibi's calls to destroy Amalek, or President Herzog's declaration that there are no innocent civilians, or Defense Secretary Gallant's comment that they are fighting human animals be taken as anything other than official government policy, when the IDF is running a channel to glorify actions entirely consistent with these genocidal comments? How can you possibly view these comments and actions as fringe when they're being pushed as the official face of the war by the IDF propaganda unit? The genocidal snuff films broadcast by 72 Virgins are official government policy.